and welcome to this very special year-end edition of Match Points here on TennisMajors.com, where we debate and discuss the biggest storylines in tennis. And of course, this year, it's holiday time, end of the year. We'll debate a little bit, but we'll celebrate the year that was, 2022. A remarkable year in many ways, one that will be unforgettable for many legacies as well. Look at our panel once again, the esteemed panel of Match Points here on TennisMajors.com. She is Marion Bartoli. She is Carl Bouchard. And he is Mr. Simon Chambers. Without further ado, let's get right at it, panel. I'll ask you a question. We'll go first on the men's side, and then we'll circle back on the women's side. To you, who was the best surprise of the year 2022 in tennis? Carl Bouchard, let's begin with you.
On the men's side, I would say Casper Ruud. Because honestly, I wasn't expecting the guy to make the final of 2 Grand Slams this year and to be so confident in the way he was achieving all those goals and calm about it. I think we discovered a potential star that we didn't know was going to be that big. In Norway, it's crazy, the impact he's having already. And so I like the way he's carrying himself out there. And no, I was really surprised in the best way by Casper, not on clay because we knew, but seeing him, the US Open, then the finals, indoor, I'm like, okay, I respect that.
All right, we'll stay on the men's side and we'll go to Simon Chambers. Best surprise for you in 2022 was whom?
I would say that Nick Kyrgios made a Grand Slam final. Obviously his talent's unquestioned. We know how good he can be, but to see him actually put his head down and start to play some really good, impressive tennis, but keep himself together at the top level and get all the way to a final and play well in it, was really good to see. And I really like the fact that he then carried on playing well for the short time that he did play in the rest of the year. And he kept it going. So I would love to see more of that in 2023.
Yeah, and I think the great part of his surprise was that we knew he was always capable. We were pleasantly surprised that now he was living up to that potential. Marion Bartoli, best surprise in 2022 on the men's side of tennis.
Well, Carol took my answer, but I would stay with the same. Casper for sure. Clay, exactly like she said, we sort of knew he could be there, but even though you knew you can do something, it's nothing to achieve it, definitely. But then to back it up with the US Open final, when you know for the first time when you have reached a Grand Slam final and you end up not succeeding, lifting the trophy, even though he lost to Rafael, there is a little time that you need to recover from that loss, and to see him recovering so fast and get to the final of the US Open, then get to the final of the final 8 against Novak was really, to me, surprising. And actually, to come back to Carol's point, being to Norway with the kids I'm coaching to play a U14 international event in Oslo, he was everywhere. But what I'm telling you, everywhere. He was just a poster man everywhere. And the impact he had on the number of kids starting to take a racket or starting to go and compete. I was talking to one of the person there from the Norway Federation saying, well, we always used to have some kids playing tennis, but the competition level was just very low. They were just not going into competition. They were just only playing tennis for fun. And now to see Casper putting Norway on the map in such a big way, as really giving that inspiration, which is so great to see once again. I think we are craving from those new countries to come in and show players. We're waiting from them from Africa as well. We have obviously Ange Jabeur. We I'm sure come back to that point later on. But I just, as a lover of tennis, as a lover of the sport, I'm just so glad to see another country that maybe in 5 or 10 years' time we will see more kids coming from that region.
And many great surprises as well this past year on the women's side. And since Carol stole Marion's answer on the men's side, we're going to let Marion steal Carol's answer this time. Payback, fair game. Marion, best surprise on the women's side was whom?
Jessica Pegula. I never thought Jessica will get to the top 5 that soon. So funny enough, again, I was with Elena Ostapenko in 2021 in Doha and Dubai Spring, and she played against Jess, and I was like, well, she's not doing anything like crazy on the court. You couldn't say, well, she's serving like Serena or she hit the ball like Sabalenka. So for me, it was very much a matchup that Elena could have won, and she just get beaten in 2 sets. The match is getting down in an hour and a half or so, and I'm like, just that girl doesn't have a weakness. She just get the ball nicely into the center of the racket, forehand and backhand, moves well, okay, her serve is not huge, but it's not that easy to hit a winner every single time on the return. Next year, she's arriving winning a lot in singles and doubles. It's so hard to qualify for the championship with singles. It's another task to do with singles and doubles. And for me, she was the biggest surprise in such a nice way.
And you got to give a lot of credit to David Witt because that project has been remarkable in its development. Cara Bouchard, did Marion steal your answer?
Not this time. No, I have a weird answer to that because I'm going to answer Iga Swiatek. I know that sounds weird, but I knew she could be, world number one and winning one Grand Slam title. But the way she just went to the top and be like, you know what? I enjoy dominating that tour and I'm going to keep doing it. 37 matches in a row, especially after an era of, we had Osaka struggling with the pressure of being number one. We were hearing that it was too difficult to dominate the game and it was too much pressure. And Swiatek just did it with such an ease. And it's my spot. I'm going to keep it and just deal with it and having fun with it. So for me, it was a big surprise to see someone like this being able to dominate the whole year, basically, and owning it, being like, I'm going to be the boss out there, and you have to just come after me. If you cannot, I'll keep winning. And it's been a long time that we had somebody like this, so for me, it was a surprise. Not from the game, how good she was going to be, but the attitude, and it was a nice surprise.
Simon Cameras, do you disagree with either of the two that precede you?
I wouldn't dare.
I wouldn't dare. But the thing is, I would agree with both those answers, but I will go for Caroline Garcia because I think, we've all seen her talent again, from a young age, and she's had her highs and lots of lows. No one really, I don't think too many people expected her to come back the way she did this year, to play the way she did in the US hardcourt season, and then to finish the year strongly and, finishing number 4. I loved the way she seemed to get her mentality right. She stands way inside the baseline to return serve, goes for it. Her serve seems to have sorted itself out. Exactly, yeah. Who's that?
I wonder.
Absolutely. That's it. She just completely goes for it. And she has cleared her mind, or she had cleared her mind for those few months. And I would love to think that it will continue next year because she is capable of winning something big if she can string it all together.
All right, since it's the end of the year and the holiday season, just as Santa has the naughty and nice list, we did the best surprises. Not necessarily naughty, but who for you was the biggest disappointment this year? Really, you were disappointed in how their 2022 year season went. And let's begin this time on the women's side. And Simon, let's begin with you.
Naomi Osaka. Hands down, the most disappointing year of any of the top players. And obviously for a lot of different reasons. And not just to do with tennis. But when we saw that she got to the final in Miami, I thought, well, okay, look, she's playing some good tennis. She had a disappointing Australian Open in some ways, but she also played some good tennis. But then she played well in Miami. And then after that, she barely won another match. And I just don't see at the moment, she's not enjoying her tennis. And she needs to find a way to do that and to get back on track. Because it's hard to see somebody of her talent, 4 Grand Slams in the bag already, not enjoying herself on the court and not playing the way that we know she can. So for me, she's been the biggest disappointment.
Again, Simon, I took my answer, but I was actually hesitating. No, to be fair, I was hesitating between Naomi, but I think you can't really put that on the disappointment side because it's so much due to her mental state and everything she feels outside of the court. But for me, Barbara Krejcikova was one of the biggest disappointments. After winning Roland Garros in singles and doubles, something that so rarely has been done. I think the last player was Mary Pierce, if I'm not mistaken. And then to see her the next year just not even qualifying for the championship in singles. Of course, she still went on in doubles, but that means you're not in the top 8 when you won a Grand Slam the year before, especially in the way she did it. Was really a little bit disappointing. And if you look at her Grand Slam performance over the 4 Grand Slam of the past year, it's just not been there, in singles. And I was expecting her maybe not to win another one, but at least to get to 1 or 2 finals, almost to do what Hans did, Hans Jabeur did, get 1 or 2 finals because I thought she had the game, especially for grass. But she was just not there.
Carol Bouchard, I know you want to agree with Naomi Osaka, but is there anyone else that you felt really disappointed us?
No, I was hesitating between Naomi and actually Garbiñe Muguruza because I'm like, Garbiñe, what happened? But I know she had a shoulder injury. But the thing is, I think maybe it's not the same situation, but it's tough for people to understand the players' struggles when all they see maybe in the social media or the media, it's them in vacation, having fun, or Naomi announcing a deal with this brand, millions with this brand, investing in pickleball. It's tough to be there like, oh my God, they're not doing well. We're sorry for them, because it seems, as far as, I think Naomi is still my biggest disappointment, that the priorities aren't the same anymore. And I mean, she has a right not to love playing tennis and be done with it. She has a right with loving writing children's book and all the business side. Of course, be an entrepreneur. It's not a problem. But the thing is, then it has to be clearly said that I don't want to be a tennis player anymore, and I do not care. It's also clear for the sponsors then. But it's selfish for us to say, but the potential is so massive. When you have somebody like Iga, imagine the rivalry, and we need the rivalries. The issue with WTA right now is we don't have those rivalries at the top of the game. And if you add Naomi, Andreescu, and Iga, you get it. Coco Gauff, okay, we're good. So that's the selfish part of the media person, be like, damn it, Naomi, you should be out there. But that's all right not to be, and that's all right to be disappointed.
Yeah, I think Garbiñe has been always like that. If you look at her career so far, she had one great year, and then the other one she fought, and then she comes back because she has nothing to defend anymore, and then she goes down again. It has always been like this. And you know, when she beat Serena in that final for Roland Garros, everyone was like, wow, she's the next massive things. And then the next year, nothing. And then the year after, she won Wimbledon. It's just always been like this. She has been struggling to sort of defend in a way, because she's feeling she has to defend something, which, talking to Conchita about it, obviously she should have another approach, but it's easier to say than to be done. But I think she will come back next year for sure. She's too good of a player not to. And she loves to compete and she loves to play. She just has more sort of demons to, I won the Year's End Championship. I want to start well. And then when she didn't start it well, then she started to go off the cliff. But I'm sure she will come back. From Naomi, it's another story. She has so many things outside of the court. It's getting difficult for her.
No one's mentioning Emma Raducanu. Interesting.
Oh my God.
I know. I would just quickly interject.
How could I forget about her?
I would just quickly interject that I think we're probably all disappointed not to see her back it up, but it's not a surprise.
Did you really have high expectation, or did you believe that 2021 was more of a one-off, an exception rather than the rule for Emma Raducanu?
Well, I didn't necessarily believe it was an exception, but I believed that it was probably going to be a case of a difficult second season, and she's got to learn the ropes, and she's doing that. We'll see what she's made of next year. We'll know a lot more about her come the end of next year.
All right, let's flip over now to the men's side for the year of 2022. Again, we're talking who had the most disappointing year for you? And Marion Bartoli, want to get us started?
Again, that's a tough one to call, but I will go with Hubert Hurkacz. For me, when he beat Roger at Wimbledon in 2021, making to the semi-final, okay, you're losing to Novak, but I mean, how many players has been able to beat Novak on grass? So that's not really, you can call it a big loss. I was like, okay, he won Miami, he's coming really big, has this massive serve. I can see him like challenging those top players. Grand Slam, but maybe not on clay, but the fast surfers, the US Open, Wimbledon, definitely. And just, again, hasn't been there. Just the consistency hasn't been there as well. And it just, almost felt like, in a way, a woman season. You just can't come back with the pressure. It's hard for you to count on your big weapons, and when you start to go on that fall, it's just really hard to back it up. And I thought with his game, which is big serve, which is hard to break, he will be able to get that traction and get that momentum and get going, even though he had more pressure on the shoulders. Hasn't been there.
Carol Bouchard, who had the most disappointing season on the men's side for the year 2022?
Well, I have a weird pick there too. I'm going to get tripped, but Stefanos Tsitsipas. I know it's crazy because he's such a high-ranked player, but something is off, and it's frustrating because in Grand Slams he's not there, and he's getting owned by the younger generation, and he's going to pay for it in the big tournaments the years to come. And there's something that's gone. The spark is gone from his game, but it's also gone from him outside. When you see him at press conferences, there's a negativity that wasn't there. There's something like, there's something that's missing, and you can feel his frustration about something, and something needs to change, and I don't know why, but the scare I have is that at some point the train is going to go without him, and he's so good. You know what? Thomas Berdych never won a Grand Slam title being that good, and there's a way to miss that opportunity even when you have crazy talent. And I look at Tsitsipas' season and I'm like, he's losing a step against the players he needs to keep a finger on. So something's off. I don't know why. I don't know if it's from the entourage, the team, or if his brain is still at the Roland Garros final he lost last year. But for me, he's starting to lose the train against the next generation, and that was not the plan, Stefanos. That was not the plan.
For me, it's Denis Shapovalov. I mean, I think we know, everyone knows that I think he's potentially an absolute superstar in terms of pure talent, but he's just not putting it together consistently enough. And I know Canada went and won the Davis Cup at the end of the year, so okay, that's great. But you know, he got to 2 finals. He did very little else. He didn't back up his Grand Slams from the previous year when he did look like he was going to make that next breakthrough, next step up. And he just needs to find the right person to help him along. I feel it's all there. The talent is there. We just didn't see it this year, and for whatever reason, whether it's mental, I think it is more mental than anything else. He needs somebody to sort of click, you know, someone to find that little magic touch, the sort of thing that Lendl did for Murray, that kind of thing he needs next year.
All right, panel, let's move on now. And this is a little more predictive. Based on what you saw in 2022, who officially put their respective tours on notice by letting them know, I'm coming for the top? And let's begin on the men's side. Who on the men's side let the field know, get ready, 2023 is all about me. Carol Bouchard, you go first.
Olga Rune?
No, don't say it. It's my answer again. No.
But I mean, it certainly is a game, because honestly, he looked solid, but I never thought, that guy, he is going to already be that good. And not only he's that good, but the attitude is in their faces. Like, they cannot stand him because the kid is in front of them being like, you know what? You're going down. And he's beating them. And they're mad. Even Casper Ruud, who is the calmest person on earth, he couldn't take it. So it's really not only the game, that the attitude. We're like, okay, this kid is going to turn their life into hell. I love that.
A Muratoglu Academy alum, and also Patrick Muratoglu assisting with that team, as Olga Rune had this run in the second half of, or the third trimester, if you will, of this 2022 season. Marion Bartoli, you're disappointed again because Carol Bouchard's been reading your mail. She's literally in. There's an expression we used to use. Yeah.
But I can't change my answer. I mean, he's the one. I don't think anyone can pick up another name. I think he's just the one. The way he just won Paris-Bercy, beating Novak in the final, he had to save match point against Stan. I agree with Carol. I mean, a lot of players will dislike him, or let's say on the court we dislike him, maybe not off the court, but on the court we just not like this kind of attitude. But I don't think he cares. I love the story with his mom. You know, the fact that she has been there since the first tournament. I love the story that he said the first time he won the runner-up trophy in a small event, he just trashed it because he just won the winner trophy. I just like the whole attitude, and I think like Simon said for Shapovalov, I think Patrick has been that just little that he needed. Christensen is sort of his long-time coach, has been there since the beginning and has been putting the whole foundation together. But Patrick was that person that just need to give a little push here and there, a little bit more tactics here and there, calming him as well a little bit sometimes during the match, and just give that comfort look that he needs. And I think all the stars align. Where will that 2023 go? I mean, it's hard to say because Novak is still going to be very much dominating, especially over 5 sets. But I think the kid has, a lot inside him to take it.
Simon, Marion says, no one can think of anyone else. If you want to get technical on words, you could say, well, there's a kid whose name begins with a C and his last name begins with an A. He's to the top. But there's other names to add some players this year let the field know that next year, get out the way. Simon, aside from Olga Rune, who do you have?
Well, I mean, I was going to say, if you're going to make it the question, who's told the tour it's going to be me next year, get out of the way, then you've got to go back to Carlos Alcaraz. I mean, look what he did. Absolutely phenomenal year. He is just a frightening player to watch. He's still got so much upside. That's what gets me. He can get a lot better, and he's already playing unbelievable tennis on the biggest stages, holding his nerve, saving match points, doing everything. I think he's only going to get better. He's just got such a great setup with Juan Carlos Ferrero there around him, all that team who've been there for quite a long time. He's been having mental coaching since he was 8 as part of a team. I mean, it seems to be, unless he gets injured, he is going to be the man to beat. In 2023, and a few of our questions to come, he's going to get involved in those too. I mean, go back to Holger Rune. I interviewed Rune at Roland Garros last year, and his confidence is off the charts. For an 18-year-old as he was then, or 18, 19, he believes he's going to be number one. He's been believing it ever since he played those kiddish tournaments when he was really young. And as far as he's concerned, nothing's going to stop him. And what makes me laugh is it's quite un-Danish, I think. Maybe I'm wrong here, but it feels, and Josh, don't take offence, if he's got a very American attitude to this. He's like, here I am, I'm it, I'm going to win this, get out of the way. Don't care who you are. And it's working for him. So, good luck to him.
If I were that good looking, I would probably be that confident too. He's a good looking kid. So he probably, right. It helps. Let's flip over now to the women's side. This one may not be as obvious, but who from the women's side let the tour know next year? It's all about me. Carol Bouchard, want to get us started?
Yeah, I hope I don't destroy your name, but Qinwen Zheng. The Chinese player who played the fourth round at Roland Garros against Iga. She stopped 30 at 20. The game is just unreal. The potential is massive. The striking quality, everything. She's moving well. The athleticism is insane. I mean, if this kid isn't in the top 10 next year, really there's a problem on that tour because she is so good. She has the serve. She has this modern game on her baseline. And I mean, if she doesn't get injured against Iga, I think she's beating her. So, and she has a great team apparently. I know a lot of coaches are looking at her because everybody's like, okay, that's the next big thing. A long way to go, but the potential is, she's the one who gets me like, okay, we get somebody here.
This is difficult because I could say Iga Swiatek again and just go on the number one and look what she's done and how dominant she's been. I actually think Jabeur is going to be interesting next year because Ons Jabeur had a fantastic year with 2 Grand Slams and showed everyone that she could do it at slam level, which is great. But what I really liked about her is when she said, I'm number 2 now, I am going for number 1. There's a big gap, between her and Iga Swiatek. But of course, Iga has a stack of points to defend first half next year and the US Open. So there's an opportunity for Jabeur. And I think, what she's done for tennis in her part of the world and for Arab tennis is absolutely fantastic. And if she can continue to have that sort of momentum, I think she's going to be pretty tough to stop next year.
Well, again, Carol took my answer, but I'm going to go with Caroline Garcia. I think the way she went from 70 in the world up until Roland Garros, she almost did nothing. In Miami, she lost, I think, first or second round something, had a foot injury, then didn't play on clay at all, arrived in Roland Garros with no preparation, just passed the first round. And then the whole momentum started after winning the doubles with Kristina Mladenovic. And then from there on, she just kept on winning and winning and winning on every surface. She beat Iga in Poland. She went on to win Cincinnati, make the semifinal of the US Open, and win the Year's End Championship. Of course, yes, she lost to Iga, but then she beat everyone else. And then she didn't have to face her again. And just the way she's inside the court, putting so much pressure, her serves is massive. I just think on women's tennis, if you can serve that well, if you can hold your serve and then be inside the court and, putting that much pressure, it's going to take a lot of stopping to stop her. Because, when you have so much confidence about your game and you just don't let the other one play, because you just take the game out of your hands, she just don't let you play. I think on the women's tour, the girls need a little bit more time to get settled and play their games from the back of the court. But when you're that disruptor and you come in and you swing big and you make, it's a little bit like, in a way, a mini Serena. The way she was playing when she was dominating was that. She was just taking the match out of your hands and you had no say in the match, basically. It was just depending on her on that day how much winner she can hit and how much enforced error she can hit. But if she was on the positive, it was her match all day long, and that's how every time I felt against her when I was playing. And I think, putting everything in proportion, of course, and in perspective, that's pretty much what Caroline has been able to do against the rest of the field as are playing now on the WTA tour. And if she can keep that for next year, during the whole season, with the number of points Iga has to defend, she can go all the way to the top.
In 2022, what was the greatest match, according to you? And let's begin on the men's side. Simon Camber's greatest match, 2022 with men's tennis was?
Probably the Sinner Alcaraz match at the US Open. It was absolutely incredible. It's an obvious choice. I think the tennis was absolutely out of this world, and Alcaraz saving that match point. I think Sinner showed that he will be a massive player to watch next year if he stays fit. But Alcaraz got through it and then went on to win. That was amazing. But in terms of a match I really loved, and the way it unfolded, was the Nadal Djokovic match at Roland Garros, because I thought Novak was going to win that match. I thought he had too much energy for Nadal. I thought Nadal was looking like he was going to be struggling. And then the way that Nadal turned it around in the third set and pulled away, that for me was an incredible singular performance. But I think in match terms, Sinner Alcaraz probably.
No, I was on Sinner Alcaraz because finally this generation's baby Jane, they were showing they could take over. But there's another one. I like the Sinner Djokovic of Wimbledon at just quarterfinal, I think that was, because it was people, maybe the changing of the guard, and Novak is like, I'm still here. And I think he said after that match, I need to win those matches because it proves to me that I can still be at the top despite this generation coming. And that is next 2 to 3 or 4 years coming. So it was a really good match, and Sinner is keeping proving he's the man of big tournaments. But that match was again, Novak just closing the door on the next gen, saying like, no, you're going to wait again. I liked it.
Well, for me, it was Sinner Alcaraz, hands down. Second best will be Alcaraz, Djokovic in Madrid. That was just insane. Level-wise, that was insane. But if I want to please you, Josh, I will go with Tiafoe and Nadal at the US Open. Of course, that was the obvious. But for me, level-wise, 1, Sinner Alcaraz, 2nd, Djokovic Alcaraz, 3rd, Tiafoe and Nadal.
And the good news is on a couple of those, we got a chance to see those 2 times, 3 times a year for the next 15 years. Fingers crossed. Possibly. I know expectations are different now. All right, greatest match on the women's side, 2022. Marion Bartoli?
Petra Kvitova against Garbine Muguruza at the US Open.
Interesting. Okay, Carol Bouchard, same question.
I will pick Harmonitan against Serena Williams at Wimbledon.
Oh no! You can't say that. You can't say that was the best match of the year. Oh my god!
It was Netflix show all. It was insane. The drama, the late finish, Serena losing against Harmonitan with like, what the hell have I done?
Should I remind you that Harmony didn't win a match after that? And she can't even win a match.
This match is in my brain.
WTA 125.
I was there and it was surreal. I was pinching myself. What is going on? And it was full. So I'm sorry. I know it's a weird pick, but I said what I said.
Carol, I think Harmony-Tan's a good call. That was, in terms of drama, that was the best match. But I think maybe Serena's match with Kontaveit at the US Open. Again for drama. I don't think any of us knew whether Serena was capable of playing at that level, even for one match, but she managed it under with the help of an incredible crowd on her side. But Kontaveit absolutely froze on the occasion, but Serena proved yet again that she can still produce it sometimes when she needs it.
All right, let's move on now. This is a pretty simple question. You can use either men's side or women's side. Which major champion of 2022 is most likely to repeat next year, and which is least likely to repeat next year? Simon Cambers, get us started.
I'll give you Novak at Wimbledon. I was at Wimbledon the other day and walking past one of the statues and thinking about Roger Federer having won 8, and will they put a statue up for him? And then I thought, hang on a minute, if Novak wins next year, he's won 8 as well. What do they do? A joint statue or no statue? Probably no statue. But I think Novak on grass still is probably the best. Obviously Nadal at the French Open, it could be him, but he's going to have to compete with Alcaraz and Novak and several others. I think Novak at Wimbledon is the most likely.
All right, and least?
Least likely, Rybakina winning Wimbledon again.
Most likely to repeat, Iga Swiatek. I mean, I'm taking an easy bet here. Which one? Okay. I don't know. Iga at Amclay seems so obvious, so I'd go with Iga. Least likely, of course. I was thinking Rybakina, and suddenly I'm going rogue, and I'm going to say Rafa at Roland Garros, but just the fact of saying it seems like it's
the
a
least
sin.
Likely.
You shouldn't be even allowed to sing these kind of things. I cannot say it. So Rybakina at Wimbledon.
Most likely Novak at Wimbledon, and I'm quite sure he will win the Australian Open again next year, just because he's going to be so eager for it. And least likely is so easy, Ash Barty, just because he doesn't play anymore. I mean, that's just...
All right, team. This one is obviously very subjective, but for you, what was the single greatest moment in tennis in the year 2022? Which was the single greatest moment for you? Marion Bartoli, you want to get us started here?
I would go with Serena's first match on night on Ash, with the whole crowd waving their signs, getting her daughter and her whole family. Stacey Alistair, who I know forever. She was the CEO of the WTA before, and just going through the emotion. Yeah, it was just incredible for me. That was the most touching.
Carol,
that was her answer.
Carol's upset by this. Carol, you've been stealing answers all day. You have no grounds to be upset. In fact,
I was going to say, thief, you're a thief, Marion. But I started it. No, I was thinking that Serena walking to that court the first night session with the diamond-looking kind of dress, and that was just, only Serena can get those entrants and make it legit. Anybody else were like, come on, what are you doing? But for her, it's like, okay, Queen Serena, that works. And that defines her and the US Open and her entire career in like 10 seconds. Her walking into that dress and like, okay, that's Serena.
So, sorry, Simon, greatest moment in 2022 in all of tennis was which?
I think the greatest moment maybe was, and it was half a second, if that, was Federer and Nadal holding hands at the Laver Cup. And maybe it's the best photo. I think it's probably the best sporting photo of the year. Ella Ling took it. And I spoke to Ella a little bit after that for the Roger Federer Effect, the book that I wrote with Simon Graf. And she said, she missed Roger put his hand on Rafa's thigh. She missed that one, but she just happened to click at the right time. And it was probably half a second where they held hands, both crying their eyes out. Amazing moment. That'll stick in the memory.
Yeah, we talk a lot about body language, nonverbals. No one needs any study to know exactly what that moment meant to both and to all who loved their careers in the game of tennis. Okay, finish this sentence for me. And since you said Roger Federer, I'll let you finish the thought on Roger Federer. However you so choose, the sentence is yours. Roger Federer's farewell, London farewell. Roger Federer's farewell in London was blank. His farewell in London was...
so emotional, and I cried like a baby. But why in the world, Frances Tiafoe, and I think it was, who played with him, Jack Sock or something. Jack Sock. You have match point against you for the last match of Roger. And if his whole career, you're in a super tie break. Why in the world you want to win that match? I just don't understand. Please explain me on an exhibition. Please, it's not like an official match or anything. Let Roger win that one. Let him finish on an ace or a serve winner, or let him eat a nice way or something. And we all cried once because we were so disappointed that Rafa and Roger lost together. Then it was the last match of Roger. Then he hugged his wife. I was crying so much with, his child coming on the court. And I was like, why did I win this one? Why didn't we? I was crying. I was like, oh my God. It was so sad and emotional.
Carol Bouchard, same question. Roger Federer's farewell in London was... blank.
It was too early. I'm taking a selfish here. It was beautiful, but somehow, I don't know why, it kind of breaks my heart a little that he had to retire at the Laver Cup and not, I don't know, Wimbledon. He had no choice, I know, but somehow I'm like, I remember he told me once, I don't have a fairy tale ending in mind. So that's fine. So he wasn't disappointed. But that's me as a follower. I'm like, God, he would have deserved a better way out. But it was beautiful. Just as for me, it was too early. It wasn't the ideal moment. But you can't have ideal. Not everybody is going to be Pete Sampras and exiting on a Grand Slam title. We saw it with Serena. But Roger Federer, Laver Cup, voilà, that's just my point.
Not all amazing stories have happy endings, and that was proof. Simon Cambers, Roger Federer's farewell in London was blank.
Sad but great. I think he couldn't have asked for a better send-off with Nadal there, with Murray there, with Djokovic there. I loved all the sort of coaching that they did all week. Of course it was sad seeing him in tears, his whole family there, but I think it was the perfect send-off for him with all his friends and family. Gutted that he can't carry on playing. I wanted him to play one more Wimbledon to see if he could, do something. But you can tell his knee is not really up to it. Perfect send-off.
All right, team. Final question, final episode of the year, and another final, if you will, finale, perhaps is a better way to say it. Serena Williams' farewell to tennis at the U.S. Open for you was what? Fill in the blank on this. Serena Williams' farewell at the U.S. Open was blank. Carol?
A Hollywood movie to be made. I mean, it was so Hollywood or Netflix or Amazon. Everything was sold for the show, and it was fantastic. People were having a blast. Every star in the world was there, and she as usual, Serena, she delivered, because I was like, oh my God, if she plays like she was playing a few weeks ago, it's going to be a disaster. And she came back to life. That's only in a movie in Hollywood you would see somebody coming from I cannot play good tennis to, oh my God, maybe she's going to go all the way again. So for me, it was perfectly Serena in a very Hollywood way. I loved it.
Well said. Marion Bartoli, Serena Williams' farewell was
like a queen. Exactly like what Carol said. But actually, when she beat Annette, I was like, hang on a second, I think she can win this. You know what? I mean, Alia Tomljanovic next round, of course, great player, but she can do it. And then the rest of the field, it's not like someone, especially at the US Open, with that much of noise, that much of momentum for Serena, that much of huge stars coming in to cheer on for her. I think the other ones can definitely feel the pressure. And I thought for a split of a second, she might have actually the perfect fairy tale ending, winning the US Open for the last one. Unfortunately, Hala played a little bit too good on that day, but very much Serena and very much like a queen. Absolutely.
Simon, same question. Serena's farewell in New York was
crazy, like Serena's career. It was mad, the atmosphere on Arthur Ashe those nights. Only Serena over the last 25 years has had that kind of adulation on court. She played great. I mean, having watched her against Harmony Tan, I feared the worst when she turned up for the US Open, but she really turned it on again. And I think, I'm sure like part of her is itching to play again, was itching to play again and give it another try, but she's got to realise that she'll probably not get a chance to go out on that kind of emotional high ever again. And I also thought for a second, wow, she could do something here. Tomljanovic in the end played a great match, but a really apt farewell for an incredible career.
It is very rare that tennis, men's or women's, becomes the epicenter not just of sport, but entertainment and all news. And for that final run of Serena, it seemed as though that was the global story, beyond all things sport, beyond all things tennis. Team, happy holidays to all of you and to yours. And to everyone out there, thank you for being with us. Make sure you listen to the audio-only podcast. Subscribe to the formats as well on social media and follow. On behalf of our panel, Josh Cohen saying thanks for listening and watching, of course, Match Points here on tennismajors.com. And we look forward to seeing you in 2023. Happy New Year, everyone.